Before we begin the presentation, we'll take refuge, develop bodhicitta, and recite a short prayer to Manjushri, who incarnates the qualities of knowledge, of enlightenment.
Sanje chodan tsoji chonan la janchu barado dani kyabsoji dagi jinsoji pe senamgi drola penchira sanje sanje chodan tsoji chonan la janchu barado dani kyabsoji Dagi jinso jibe sanamgi drola penchir sanje ro paraisho sangye chedan sogi chonan la jancho baradu kyapsoi chi dagi jinso jibe sanamgi drola penchir sanje ro paraisho Semchen tamche dewa tan dewe gyutan demparai gyurich Nungel tan dungel gi gyutan dreware gyurichik Mebe dewa dampa tam mindrel ware gyurichik Nyerin shadan tandrewe tamnyon chempola nepra gyurichi Palden sawe lama rinpoche Nagi chiwor bede den shola Kadrin chempe gone jezonde Musun to king drotter does Chandende jambe yan la chatselo Gangi lodre drini cindra netra nandara serve Jinye denken jishin ziche nike tokarek banzi Ganda si pe sarar mare menton dunye jidirwe Trozo gun la buji drate yan la droje yan den sung Trotra cedro nyemo nyelo leki chadro edre de ching Mare mensel dungel nyugwe jinye chade rendrin Dene dai chin sai chu drase Yenten luzoi gyarse tuweko Chödrak chodan chuni gendre Nale munse jampe yan lai du Seden jeji genra bezreji Dalu timu mun paraserne Kadan tunshu shun lo topaye L'odre pape non water dose.
Hello, everyone. Welcome. I will give a very short presentation of where the information that we're sharing with you comes from, what kind of exercise we're undertaking when we present this information, and also the text that we're studying. The explanations that we'll share over the course of these 3 days we received from Khenpo Chödrak Rinpoche, who is one of the primary scholars of the lineage, who is also one of the Karmapa's teachers. These explanations come from him. He transmitted them to us here at Dakpo in 2011 during annual or biannual retreats. He explained the text called The Entry to the State of a Pandita. As a reminder, as this has been shared on numerous occasions, Rinpoche asked us, the students of the Institute, the people who follow the inner curriculum, to precisely study what we have received, to understand it in as precise a way as possible, and then to give back these explanations without adding our own point of view or any personal additions, to really share what we were given without adding our personal opinion. The text that we're studying is the entry to the state of a Pandita. It's a text of the Abhidharma composed by Mipham Rinpoche, who is a great master of the Nyingma lineage, who lived at the end of the 19th and beginning of the 20th centuries. This text is made up of three main parts. First, the 10 modes of being. These are the first 10 chapters. Then the 4 seals, and then the 4 types of perfect knowledge. During Rinpoche's previous courses, the Clarity and Compassion courses, there have been previous presentations, and during these presentations, we have shared the introduction and the first 3 modes of being. Over the course of this 3-day course, we will be studying the second mode of being, which is the chapter on the 18 Dhatus. How's the rhythm? It's okay. Okay. The people who are listening said the rhythm is fine, but they're not translating. Yeah, well, it's a little quick. Before beginning the root text itself, Khenpo began by giving various explanations that help us to begin the study of the root text with certain information that give us more confidence and trust when we jump into the root text. Khenpo explained that the Buddha himself, Buddha Shakyamuni, said within numerous sutras. Sutras are the texts that hold the Buddha's words. So in numerous sutras, Shakyamuni Buddha himself said that the 4 themes, or the 4 first modes of being, out of the 10 shared in this text, the teaching on the 5 aggregates, the 18 dhatus, the 12 ayatanas, and dependent arising, that these 4 themes are named the door to the truths. Why? Because based on the study and understanding of these 4 themes, we will be able to see or recognize the true mode of being of the 4 truths of the Noble Ones. The 4 truths of the Noble Ones, which is the very first teaching that Shakyamuni Buddha gave, and that is the basis, the foundation for all of the Buddhist vehicles. These first 4 modes of being, or first 4 themes, are called the doors to the truth, the truths of the Noble Ones, the 4 truths of the Noble Ones. Over the course of these 3 days, we'll be studying the second of these themes, the Dhatus. Concerning these 10 modes of being, or 10 themes, we might ask ourselves, was it Shakyamuni Buddha himself who spoke of them, or was it something that was invented by the Panditas who came after the Buddha? Panditas are realized scholars. So khenpo asked us, considered this question: did the Buddha speak about these 10 topics himself, or did the Panditas come up with them afterward? They were not invented by the Panditas, they were explained by the Buddha himself. And Khenpo gave various examples of different sutras where we can find these themes. For example, if we consider the first of the 10 themes, the teaching on the 5 aggregates, Khenpo explains that numerous sutras mention this theme. If we had to cite one in particular, we could, for example, consider the Woodpile Sutra. In this sutra, the Buddha explains the following. If we consider a pile of wood, if we take one log off the pile, then a second one, a third one, etc. At the end, we might ask ourselves, what became of the initial thought of the existence of a woodpile? In the beginning, we saw it, we thought, okay, there's a woodpile. But if we take away one element at a time, then this initial thought that was fixed on the idea of this single phenomenon that considered the woodpile as one thing. Of course, we know it can be taken apart, but initially when we see it, we think that it is something that is there. So what became of this first thought that was present? There's a woodpile before me. Of course, the thought is no longer there because we have taken away each of the parts of this woodpile. And Khenpo explains that in this sutra, in the same way, we grasp ourselves as being an individual or a single and indivisible entity. The Buddha taught that this is simply a way of apprehending or grasping reality, grasping oneself. And in reality, what I call me is just a collection of 5 aggregates. It's a collection of 5 different things, the 5 aggregates. And of course, it's important to know that the 5 aggregates themselves are made up of many factors. So through this teaching on the 5 aggregates, we can see that what we grasp as I, myself, is nothing more than the coming together of multiple phenomena, that they themselves are made up of multiple phenomena. And in all of this, what we call me, we cannot find this me. Here, Khenpo cited, for example, one sutra shared by the Buddha to show that the teaching on the 5 aggregates came from the Buddha. An example here is that of the Woodpile Sutra. In the same way, concerning the Dhatus, the 2nd chapter, theme or mode of being, the Buddha spoke of the 18 Dhatus in a sutra called the Sutra Presenting the 64 Dhatus. In this sutra, there are many explanations on the term dhatu and different types of dhatus. we do specifically find this list of 18 Dhatus that the Buddha himself explained. In the same way, if we consider the fourth mode of being, that of dependent arising, Mipham Rinpoche, who explains it in the entry to the state of a Pandita, primarily based his work on the Rice Seedling Sutra, which is a very important sutra in the Mahayana tradition. To conclude this part, the 10 themes, the 10 modes of being, of which we must be a Pandita, belong to the Buddha's words. The Buddha himself taught them. And then they were gathered together and explained by the Panditas who appeared after the Buddha in order to make them more accessible for beginner practitioners. So here we can see Khenpo wanted to share this information, that these themes, this information comes directly from Shakyamuni Buddha. And for those who have the piece of paper with the text, you have also an outline. First there's the Dhatus in and of themselves, then the complete categorization of the Dhatus, and then the conclusion. It's at the bottom of the page. And in his explanations to us, Khenpo only explained the first part. He felt that that was the most important thing to know, and then he went on to the next mode of being. So the sheet of paper that you have includes only the first part, which is the most important part, apparently, which is what we're sharing with you today over the next 3 days. And final introductory information. The commentary that Khenpo Chödrak based his teaching on, Khenpo used a commentary on this text, the entry to the state of a Pandita, in order to explain it. This commentary was written by another Khenpo, Khenpo Nyuden. His full name is Khenpo Nyuden Khyentse Lodra. He was a Nyingma master of the 20th century and who was a direct disciple of Mipham Rinpoche. The primary commentary on the entry to the state of a Pandita that Khenpo Chödrak Rinpoche used was written by a Khenpo who was a direct disciple of Mipham Rinpoche. And Khenpo Chödrak gave a bit more information about the Khenpo who wrote this commentary. He was a Khenpo in Katok Monastery in Tibet. Katok Monastery is one of the 6 primary monasteries of the Nyingma lineage. In Tibet, concerning the Nyingma lineage, there were, don't know what state it is, there were 6 great monasteries, including Katok Monastery, where this Khenpo Nyuden was a Khenpo. Katok Monastery is the oldest of the 6. It was built in the 12th century, around the same era as Surfu Monastery, which is the first and primary monastery of the Karmapas. The master who built Katok Monastery was named Tampa Deshek Pupa Senge, and this master who founded Katok Monastery was very deeply connected with the first Karmapa, Tusum Khenpo. Khenpo did not go into more detail about why he gave this information, but we can see the connection between the Nyingma and the Kagyu lineage, and the connection between the founder of Katok Monastery and the first Karmapa, and the Khenpo Nuden, who wrote the commentary, was from this monastery, Katok Monastery. So those are some introductory information. And now we'll go into the meaning of the term Dhatu. So let's explain the meaning of the word, the term Dhatu. We're not quite entering into the root text yet. The term Dhatu is presented in terms of three meanings. Khenpo Chödrak relies on Khenpo Nuden's commentary to explain these three different meanings. What is the first meaning of the word Dhatu? A Dhatu is defined as being a cause that is susceptible to being a producing cause. A cause that is susceptible to produce an effect, to produce a fruit. We can also see that this concerns a potential. This is the first meaning of the word Dhatu. A cause that is susceptible to producing an effect. And Khenpo notes that concerning this first meaning, we can also talk about a seed due to the fact that it has the nature of a seed. We speak of a Dhatu. Kiki, Khenpo's translator, asks a question. She asks, so a Dhatu is a cause susceptible to producing an effect, but is it possible that this cause, this Dhatu, is not capable of producing a fruit? Sometimes there are obstacles, and it's possible that the effect doesn't appear. If that is the case, will this phenomenon in question still be a Dhatu? And the answer is yes, it can occur that some causes, some Dhatus, don't produce a fruit, because even if in the cause there is the capacity to produce a fruit, due to a lack of the necessary conditions, due to the conditions not being fully gathered, the fruit may not appear, might not appear. What is important to understand here in terms of this first meaning of the word Dhatu, a cause that is susceptible to producing an effect, this first meaning doesn't refer or take into account the presence or absence of the conditions. It refers to a simple potential, a cause that is capable of producing an effect. It is not certain that the effect will be produced. Let's look at an example. Among the 18 Dhatus that we will study, there is Dhatu, I Dhatu, which corresponds with I faculty that we covered in the aggregate of form. This governing faculty, the I governing faculty, is a potential for visual consciousness. It is a cause that is capable of producing a visual consciousness, a moment of visual consciousness. However, if I faculty is not intact, if it is damaged, a person won't see, even if the faculty is present. Therefore, visual faculty is a potential cause for visual consciousness. It's clear enough? And Khenpo adds that quite often, concerning the 18 Dhatus and the Dhatus in general, because we saw that there are more, when there's commentary on these Dhatus, the commentary refers to this first meaning, a cause susceptible to producing an effect. And they're not explained as being sure to produce an effect, certain of producing an effect. That was the first meaning of the word Dhatu. Now we'll look at the second meaning. The second meaning refers to that which possesses the characteristics of the fruit fully. That which fully possesses the characteristics of the fruit. There's an example again here. When the state of Buddhahood is obtained, no new qualities are created. There are not any new qualities produced. The qualities of the state of Buddhahood were all present from the beginning. So this is the meaning of the second meaning of the term Dhatu, that which completely possesses the characteristics of the fruit, fully or completely possesses. The third meaning of the word Dhatu is what supports, which apprehends experience. Khenpo didn't give any further explanations, so I can't give you any further explanations either. I'll just repeat: that which supports or which apprehends experience. And let's take a short break. We have concluded the three meanings of the term Dhatu. I'll just remind you of them. The first is a cause that is capable or susceptible of producing a fruit. It is a potential. The second is that which possesses the characteristics of a fruit fully. And the third is what supports experience. Now that we've looked at these three meanings, khenpo will illustrate the first two meanings. For this, he uses the Dhatu Buddha nature, essence of the Tathagatas, which is also called Tathagata Garbha. The essence of the Tathagatas and of Buddha nature is a Dhatu. Khenpo relies on the presentation of two views, Shentong and Rongtong view. In Buddhism, where do we find these two views? So in Buddhism, there are various vehicles, the great vehicle and the foundational vehicle. The great vehicle is also called the Mahayana. Within the Mahayana, there are two schools of thought, the Shittamatra and the Madhyamaka. So the great vehicle, and then the foundational vehicle. Within the great vehicle, there's Madhyamaka and the Shittamatra. Within the Madhyamaka, there are two schools of thought, the Rongtong and the Shengtong school of thought. We'll begin with the Shentong view. The Shentong view is represented by the masters of the Kagyu, Nyingma, and Zhenongpa schools. Within the Kagyu lineage, we find Jamgun Kontrul, Karmapa Rongjung Dorje, the 16th Karmapa, Chödrak Gyamsu, the 17th Karmapa, Situ Choki Jungne, the 12th and 13th Karmapa, and also the majority of the Nyingma school. For those who hold the Shentong view, the meaning of the Dhatu, Tathagata Garbha, corresponds with the second meaning. In other words, that which holds the characteristics of the fruit fully. For the Shentong school, this is the true nature of mind. The true nature of mind is Buddha nature. And this Buddha nature is present from the beginning. And this true nature has two aspects, an aspect of emptiness and an aspect of illuminating knowledge. The Shentong school says that the essence of the Tathagata is the nature of mind. Mind is, by nature, emptiness and luminosity, or emptiness and illuminating knowledge. It possesses all of the characteristics of the three kayas, or enlightened bodies, completely. However, these qualities are not actualized in the mind of an ordinary being. Whether these qualities are actualized or not. This does not make a difference for the Shentong masters. They are present, completely present, from the very beginning. They are present in terms of this second meaning, which possesses the characteristics or the nature of the fruit completely. In order for this to manifest, well, this depends on us, of course, even though there's no need to produce this enlightened nature because it is already there. It does need to be unveiled. It is necessary to remove what veils. And for this, then methods are taught. If these methods are not applied, then the unveiling of this true nature of mind does not occur. In order to illustrate this process of applying the methods to unveil what is already there, Khenpo gives an example. It's as if there is a treasure buried underground. A treasure is a treasure. It has the full qualities, the full and perfect qualities of a treasure, even if it is covered in dirt. And when we take the dirt away and we take the treasure in our hands, it hasn't changed. It's the same treasure that was hidden before. So this illustrates the second meaning of the term Dhatu, which corresponds with the Shentong view. So then comes the Rongtong view. Now we'll look at an explanation of the first meaning of the word Dhatu that corresponds with the view of the Rongtong school. The first meaning, for review, is a cause that is susceptible to producing a fruit. The Rongtong school is represented by masters from the Gelug and Sakya schools. Many masters, Khenpo adds, adopt this point of view concerning the heart of the Tathagata. From the Rongtong point of view, the essence of Tathagata is a potential for attaining enlightenment. The masters of this school explain that the true nature of mind is emptiness, free from all mental elaborations, free from all mental fabrications. On the path, this potential cause, when it is combined with effort referring to generating bodhicitta, great accumulation of merit. So when this cause or potential is combined with effort, then the individual may attain or actualize the final fruit, which are the qualities of the enlightened state of Buddhahood. From the Rongtong school's point of view, the qualities of the Tathagata are not present from the beginning, as the Shentong school posits. Rather, the actualization of these qualities results from the combination of this cause or potential with effort on the path. in this case, it is not certain that the fruit will appear, due to the fact, as we explored earlier, that the conditions are not completely unified, brought together. So this concerns the first meaning of the word dhatu, a cause that is susceptible to producing an effect. So here khenpo begins by explaining the meaning of the term dhatu. We saw that there were three meanings. First meaning is that of a potential cause. The second meaning is the meaning of something that already has all of the characteristics of the fruit. And the third, that is not further explained, is that which supports experience. In order to explain this, in order to explain the first and second meanings more precisely, he uses the explanation of Buddha nature in the context of the Rangtong and Shentong schools. In the Rangtong school, the explanation corresponds with the first meaning. There's a potential cause that needs to be combined with other conditions to give a fruit, or and then in the second part on the Shentong school, Buddha nature is seen as a cause in terms of the second meaning of the term dhatu that already has all of the characteristics of the fruit. In order to continue with these explanations, khenpo gives some supplementary information related to some question and answer sessions. So he continues the explanations by talking about the three kayas, or the three bodies of enlightenment. In the Mahayana, or Great Vehicle, it is taught that the enlightened state of Buddhahood includes three aspects. It has three dimensions. They're referred to as the three bodies. The Dharmakaya. Kaya means body. The first is the Dharmakaya, the second is the Sambhogakaya, and the third is the Nirmanakaya. These are notions that we encounter very frequently in Mahayana Buddhism. The way that these three kayas are considered differs in the Rangtong school and the Shentong school. For the Rangtong school, the Dharmakaya is the emptiness of all phenomena, and so in terms of Dharmakaya, there's not really any difference between the basis and the fruit. The basis and the fruit are both emptiness. That's the same thing. However, concerning the two formal bodies, the Sambhogakaya and the Nirmanakaya, these result from efforts made on the path. These efforts can be summed up, as Barbara said, with developing bodhicitta and accumulation of merit. So these two formal kayas that will appear due to progressing on the path, these two kayas include many qualities for the benefit of beings. These they manifest as acts to help those who are trapped in samsara. The qualities. According to the masters of the Rongtong school, these two formal kayas are impermanent because they result from efforts made on the path. In a certain way, we could say these two kayas are newly produced. They weren't there at the beginning. They appear based on effort made on the path, which, according to the understanding of the masters of this school, is not the case for the Dharmakaya. It is because emptiness is the nature of the cause and the effect. And so it is not newly produced. For the path does not produce any of them, it simply reveals them. In this case, the two formal bodies are not produced. And for the Shentong school, as well as the Rongtong school, the path consists in developing bodhicitta and accumulating merit. We'll explain that the reason why this path that allows one to attain the enlightened state of Buddhahood and reveal for the benefit of beings, what allows for this is because this essence of the Tathagata, this Buddha nature, is already present within us. These three enlightened bodies are already present with us, in us, because we have this Buddha nature. Then it is possible to progress along the path. Khenpo said that if we didn't already naturally have Buddha nature, then there is no mechanism in the mind that would allow one to progress along the path. So from the Shentong school's point of view, all of the qualities of enlightenment and of the three bodies are already present within us, simply veiled. And due to this, it is possible to progress along the path and reveal them. So again, we see the first two meanings of the term Dhatu. The second meaning, in the Shentong school, all the qualities are already fully present. And then in the Rongtong school, the first meaning, which is that of a potential, a cause that is capable of producing a fruit. This concludes the explanations of the meaning of the term Dhatu. I will say, for those who are here for the first time, it's a lot. And just to let you know, when we received this the first time, we didn't understand anything. And through listening to it again and again, hearing other teachings, and being able to put the different bits together, it starts to make sense. But do understand that if you're new here, hearing this for the first time, it's quite natural that it doesn't make much sense. One last point before we conclude. The purpose of this text. Today we won't jump into the text itself, but we'll conclude our introduction with an explanation of the purpose of this teaching, the reason why Shakyamuni Buddha taught this theme of the 18 Dhatus. The goal of this teaching on the 18 Dhatus is to remedy the view of a self that acts as a cause. The goal of the teaching on the Dhatus is to remedy the view of a self, an entity that acts as a cause, that is a cause. there are two views of a self that acts as a cause. There's an innate view of a self and an acquired view of a self. The innate view of a self that acts as a cause is a view that all samsaric beings have, that we all have, unless there's some people here liberated from suffering. It is a view that we have innately. We naturally think that the self is a cause for the appearance of phenomena. If we ask someone if they truly exist, if they possess a self, if you ask me, do you exist? Naturally, I'll say, yeah, I exist. And the proof is that I make things. I'm talking. There are sounds that go into the microphone and come out of the speakers and that you hear. So I made that. I'm the one who made that happen. So naturally, innately, I consider that there is a self and that this self is a creator of things and that this self exists. That's the innate view of a self as a cause. And this innate view accompanies us from one life to another, so long as we are prisoner of the cycle of existences. Then there is the acquired view of a self. This appears on the basis of the innate view, which of course is there all the time. Based on this innate view of a self, then there will be all kinds of ideas and concepts that will appear, and elaborate schools of thoughts appear so that support the idea that the origin of beings and the world is a creator God. This is how different schools of thought, religions, etc. appear. And then fix on a certain view. They develop ideas such as there is such a God that exists and that created the world. And when this elaborate view or acquired view is developed, then self-grasping becomes very powerful, very strong. How do we know this? Because there are people who believe that a creator's will is more important than their own benefit or that of others, and they can go so far as giving their lives for this creator God. So this is what occurs based on the presence of this acquired view of a self. The end goal of this teaching on the 18 Dhatus is to understand and to realize that there is not a self that exists that acts as a cause for phenomena, whether this concerns the innate view of a self or acquired view of a self. So then we might ask ourselves, if there is not a self that acts as a cause that creates phenomena, then how do phenomena appear? How are they produced? What the Buddha taught is that what allows for the appearance of a phenomenon is simply the meeting of an object, a faculty, and knowledge or consciousness. The meeting between object, faculty, and knowledge that allows for the appearance of a phenomenon. And this process that we will study together does not require a self, neither innate or acquired, that accomplishes an action and creates phenomena. Phenomena simply appear due to this meeting of object, faculty, and knowledge or consciousness. if there were really a self that was a creator of phenomena, you have to be able, if this is the case, you have to be able to prove it. In fact, this self is not a truly existing phenomenon. It's an appearance, a way of apprehending. To conclude this part, Khenpo gives a few explanations of the innate view of self, how we naturally consider ourselves to be the cause of phenomena, as we said earlier, just talking. He also gave an example of walking. When we walk, we naturally think it's me, I'm walking, I'm taking steps, I'm the one who decided to walk, took the first step, the second step, etc. And we think that there is a self that acts, that is the cause of phenomena of steps. And this is a misunderstanding that is always present. Because here we're talking about the innate view of a self, and the steps that appear are not the fruit of an innate self or an elaborated self like a creator god. They're simply the fruit of the interaction of these 18 dhatus, the 18 objects, the 18 dhatus, the 6 objects, the 6 faculties, and the 6 consciousnesses. Likewise, when we make a meal, I'm the one who prepared the meal. I invited guests to come eat it. They'll like it or not, depending on whether I'm a good cook or not. These are the kind of thoughts we have in daily life. And all of the unfolding of our everyday life, we think of ourselves as the cause of a meal, for example, that that will be appreciated or not. The phenomenon, meal, that will be able to be eaten is a phenomenon that will simply appear due to this interaction of the 18 dhatus. At no moment was there a truly existing self that acted as a cause. There's another example, but it's more or less the same thing. This concludes the purpose of this teaching, which is remedying the view of a self, either innate or acquired, that is the cause of the appearance of phenomena. Phenomena, in other words, being synonym for the world that we experience. Tomorrow we'll begin with the root text. If you have questions, go ahead. Raise your hand and please wait for the microphone. Hello? Thank you for what you're doing, which allows me to do what I'm doing. When I hear all this, Is there a literal translation of the word Dhatu? I hear da and tu. Is it a single word in Tibetan that corresponds with some meaning in our language? The word Dhatu wasn't translated, this is the answer, because the translation team hasn't found a word that corresponds with the meaning. And then the asker continues, Dharma Dhatu, isn't that emptiness? And so Julian then continues, Dhatu is the Sanskrit term, in fact. In Tibetan it's kam, and the translation committee chose to keep the term in Sanskrit because any other word could lead to misunderstanding, and rather bring other explanations to truly understand the meaning. Sometimes it is translated as sphere, but as you can see, it's really hard to understand what that might refer to. I mean, okay, if we choose the word sphere, it must correspond in some way element. Yeah, no, sphere is a different one. No, sphere is for ayatana. Element. Element. So erase that. Element. But let's stick with the Sanskrit term here, because then we'll really focus on the explanations to understand what it means. There are indeed two syllables, da and tu, and maybe there is a Sanskrit etymology, but I don't know it. We didn't receive it. The questioner, when I hear several times in the beginning, what are we talking about the beginning of? Is that clear for everyone? Julian says, I think I'm the one who talked about beginning. Indeed, when we say in the beginning, we're talking about the beginning of samsara. We're talking about right now. Beginning means a state of an ordinary being, a samsaric state, and then the end refers to beyond samsara, enlightenment. So in this case, beginning in that sense just refers to our present state, an ordinary being. Thank you for the explanations. I wanted to ask to clarify in terms of the Kagyu lineage, and particularly here at Dagpo. Do we find ourselves in the Rongtong view or the Shentong view? As Barbara explained, in the Kagyu, Nyingma, and Jonongpa lineage, which is a Tibetan lineage that had a certain importance but was reabsorbed by another lineage later on, then the tendency is more towards Shentong, but to affirm that all masters are Shentong, maybe not, but generally the Kagyu lineage is more on the Shentong. And Khenpo, I think, said he named specific masters who wrote treatises connected with the Shentong view. In general, the Kagyu lineage is more connected with the Madhyamaka Shentong view than Rantong view, but I don't know if it's correct to affirm that all masters are. I'm having a little trouble differentiating between the first and the second meanings. I'm trying to look at maybe the approaches. So the first meaning of Dhatu, a cause susceptible to having a fruit, and the second one that already possesses the characteristics fully. Are these definitely opposed? So like we could say that a rice seed already possesses the characteristics of a fruit, but it's also a potential. In the Shentong view, there are methods. In the Rantong view, we talk about efforts. How are methods different than efforts? In the Rantong view, if efforts are not made, the fruit isn't actualized, and I can imagine that if the methods aren't applied, then even if the fruit is there, it won't be unveiled either. I think that what is said, okay, yes, in the two schools, whether it's Rantong or Shentong, there are methods, things to apply, accumulating merit, etc. That's what's said. But if we consider the first meaning, a cause capable of producing an effect, and the second sense, a cause that contains the qualities fully. In the first case, it's a potential, and all of the qualities are not there, whereas in the second case, all of the qualities are there. I think that's just that makes the difference between the two meanings. Of course, indeed, one still has to use the methods, accumulate merit, etc. Thank you for the explanations. What comes to mind here is, okay, this teaching is to remedy the view of a self, but I can't help but thinking concretely from day to day, what do I do with that? Okay, conceptually, I can, it makes sense, I can understand. But then I think, but what do I do with that from day to day? Because in everyday life, I always think, it's me, I'm the one doing all of this, who walks, who cooks, etc. I'm a bit lost about what are we supposed to do? They tell us, you tell us, somebody tells us, that things happen by way of meditation. But I don't know, do you have anything else? Anything else to offer? Well, no. As Rinpoche said this morning, and as he has said many times, and as it's said in the teachings, study allows us to develop correct understanding of the Buddha's teaching, which points to what reality really is, that indicates the misunderstanding that we find ourselves in. But going in this direction to really understand what is taught in the teachings, it's only through meditation that we can really progress along the path. Of course, combined with the various methods on the path, we can speak about the three trainings. There are different ways to talk about the path. As Rinpoche has said many times, study on its own allows us to develop intellectual background, but it won't liberate us. But if it's combined with meditation, I'm just repeating what Rinpoche has said many times, little by little, if we offer ourselves study and contemplation and then meditation, then we'll recognize in our meditation. It's not necessarily wanting to make connections or reflect during our meditation, that's not the idea, but simply by applying the instructions of meditation due to having studied, then we'll naturally see and more subtly observe the functioning that is at work. And it's a long process. Of course, the idea is not to get discouraged, but just continue and, stay relaxed. Hello. What's troubling me, what I have a hard time understanding, is the second meaning of the word Dhatu, that which already holds the characteristics of the fruit, because this seems to reminds me of these schools of thought where phenomena are produced based on themselves, as if there were an extension of this, that they already have their full development, and I'm stuck there. At the same time, I'm trying to keep dependent arising in mind. Of course, that's a following theme, but which also refers to one of the 5 characteristics of this type of production. Points out that the seeds don't hold the characteristics of the fruit. It seems like, and that was supposed to go against the Samkhya school of thought. In any case, the parallel between dependent arising and these self-generated schools of thoughts and this second meaning of the word Dhatu, I don't know what to do. Your reflection is very logical. The only thing I can say is here the explanation of the 18 Dhatus focuses on the first meaning, potential cause. The second, so then Khenpo gave 3 meanings. The third one he didn't explain, and Khenpo, in terms of the explanations of the second meaning, he only gave the example of Buddha nature. And I haven't studied enough in order to give further explanations, but what we can see is that we're not talking about the production of phenomena in terms of that example. The first meaning corresponds more with what we will study in terms of dependent arising. So the fact that the explanations of the second meaning don't necessarily correspond easily with dependent arising. It can be related to the fact that the illustration given here is concerns Buddha nature, which is really a specific topic, and so it's possible that there's very specific explanations behind it, and things don't match up. And furthermore, even if the characteristics of the fruit are there fully, as it was said, as you say, there's still something to do. It won't appear on its own. It seemed to me that you said because the fruit is there, then ... In any case, there is something to do. Hi, thanks for the presentation. My question concerns the second meaning of the term Dhatu as well, that fully possesses the nature or characteristics of the fruit. I understood, in terms of the example of Buddha nature, that there are two aspects, two characteristics, the aspect of emptiness and the aspect of illuminating knowledge. My question is more or less on that topic. I don't know if this is the right place to ask it, but I wanted to know if this illuminating knowledge is also what we call clarity. Sometimes we talk about clarity and emptiness. And I wanted to know if you could give a little bit of further explanation concerning this illuminating knowledge or clarity. I don't know if this is the right thing. All I know about illuminating knowledge is that it is knowledge that knows emptiness. That's what I've understood. Illuminating knowledge is what knows emptiness. We haven't received a lot of explanations on that theme. I think it's a very profound theme. I think one day we'll study the Gyu Lama and get much further explanations. We can verify, but I think it refers to the term Tseltong in Tibetan, which is sometimes translated as clarity. I'm taking advantage of the opportunity to talk to you about another subject that has been troubling me. In terms of Buddha nature and Khenpo Chödrak's example, to illustrate the second meaning of the word Dhatu, this concerns Buddha nature, so it's a red zone, if you will. But concerning our present existence, there are successions that resemble something, like objects around us. We can almost see some kind of continuity that possesses the characteristics of the following moment. And so it seems to be another type of paradox in terms of dependent arising and this particularity of mind, which makes it that the cause is not transferred into its consequence. My personal experience is it proves the opposite. I don't know. I don't get that part. Do you see what I mean? Julien replies, I understand the words that you're saying, but I don't get the point of what you're saying. The questioner says, we say that when we talk about a dhatu is a potential cause for the next moment and the moment after. And so Yeah, but that's okay, but that's what it is. And then the questioner says, okay, but it seems contradictory with dependent arising. Maybe come back when we present dependent arising and we'll look at it together. We'll conclude here because it's 4:25. Okay, there's one last question. We have until 4:30. Go ahead. Oh. So in Buddhism it's said that everything that is composite is impermanent, and so the microphone is composite. It will disappear on its own at some point. So it seems that Olivier has studied the 4th chapter in great detail and is referring to certain themes there. We won't debate it here, but you can debate amongst yourselves.
Jambe babe chitra kyamba tang kantu zampo de yang de shin de da gengi jesu daro gewa de ta dan she ra to ngo sanje kusum nye pe jinra tang cheni mi gyor dan pe jinra tang genu mi che den pe jinra ke Jindarang wa malandro paraishu